Okay, just going live from the current location, and the device is less than a yard away from me. This is about a yard right here. This is less than a yard. That's about a yard. Yeah. This is like 2 feet. So, some additional information for mainly we're documenting because we have 98 biological older brothers through biological mom. We're going to speak with an Americanized accent. Her Royal Highness Princess Caroline, who is a princess by birth, and my primary biological dad is His Royal Highness Prince John Jr. His grandfather was King Edward Albert, who was no longer the king the day I was born. He did not abdicate prior to around the time of World War II. For our biological brothers that maybe haven't even been contacted, just to support the timeline, because obstruction to the truth seems to be most effective when people mess with the timeline, whether or not there's this concept of a lot of initiatives to brainwash people who are not going to entertain conspiracy theory. Although there are people that are shameless and have no consequences. Mr. Jason Fletcher Thompson is technically one of our cousin siblings. He has an older brother named Harold Jr. and a younger brother named Justin. And we don't have confirmation if Mr. Yemi is or isn't biologically related as well. But there are Susan, Mr. Jason Fletcher Thompson's mother, her mother had children. Susan and Andrew, who are like parentals for us, are and aren't, if that's the best way to say that. Their parents were the problem. So their grandmother banned their parents because their parents allegedly could not accept that they had no rights to territory. Like they didn't inherit any land or any wealth or anything like that. So their grandmother was like Queen Victoria's granddaughter or something like that. So she didn't have a title and she had no ownership. I am the direct line. So King Edward Albert chose me and husband as the heirs. And that's that. But all of our biological brothers through Carolyn, their dads are all related to my primary dad and our great grandfather through my primary dad. So their parents, Susan and Andrew, hypothetically, I'm not saying this to like ruin their reputation, but their parents are racist. And they're not legitimately Black. They like they're part of a cult. So we're not saying that Andrew or Susan are, but we don't know how Mr. Jason Fletcher did or didn't manage challenges with those cousins. But they're a problem. If important to mention, we are okay to, well, my husband will let me know after we've been able to review all necessary information. We would probably start with, as far as contracting to work towards a solution, the fugitive agent. That would probably be our first method, aside from restraining orders. We there's allegedly overwhelming evidence to support um, Eric mentioning how rigged, like the FBI and the CIA still have to show that we followed through with trying to communicate the concerns. I mean, grievance almost seems like there would have to be an opinion. So me and my husband have not renounced, and we have not resigned at all. We were also never offered any jobs, right? So as far as like being a commissioner and all of that, well, we tried to contact Kenny and Shapiro and Perry because we're landowners and we had wanted to evaluate and assess with our biological brothers to Carolyn. And then there's Harry and Harry through Diana. And then all of our biological dads have additional children, but the children through biological mom Carolyn and Diana have a little more seniority than the children through the dads, if that's the best way to say it. And we say that with the utmost respect. I mean, Stella, Samantha, but we start with our brothers first. So, but then there's Dad, who seems to have accepted that he's a prince and I'm the king, and husband is the king. He doesn't really seem to have any issues. And Grandpa doesn't seem to have any issues with us either. And that we see a strength in being an intergenerational. So as far as law and order and constitutional rights, and where we don't weigh in on the formality of chain of command and laws and regulations, there's so much that doesn't really seem to be law abiding that we wonder if, as far as whether or not we're elected to these roles or we have to interview for these jobs, when we kind of take executive action and are in a state of emergency, for lack of better words, and that's where we tried to contact them. Unofficially tried to initiate contact with the National Guard. We first tried to initiate contact with the Royal Navy to kind of gather our bearings as far as like, how are we in this situation? And because of the risk of harm and needing to stay available in the ways that we could be available and just stay accountable for ourselves and continue to participate in every day. So we don't know if the fugitive agent is actually one of our brothers. Okay. But we want people to understand that regardless of the level of corruption, every single brother has still, by their own merit, proceeded and created careers and lifestyles for themselves, right? So as far as merit and what's expertise and experience and all of that, I don't really know what our biological brothers that are just not even related to us, that work in law enforcement, fire department, many industries that are very respected industries. We don't know if there's an opinion or if they're not even at the stage of opinion and they're just stunned. We don't know what especially for the police officers here in Philadelphia, whether they're with the University of Pennsylvania or Philadelphia, and the fire department, we don't know how you process what your interview was. If you were a soldier or not are a soldier, or, how do you process the legitimacy of what you took pride in being kind of almost an elite citizen for, right? So how are you making sense of this? Like, you've not been demoted or downgraded or anything like that, but now What are your thoughts? What are your concerns about the legitimacy of what you need a job title, the job description to be? That's it. So the other issue are the slights, right? So I don't know if our brothers have learned how educated I am. So that's the other issue. So there's the fake press, the fake news. They've stolen our intellectual property to create artificial. Well, they don't create artificial intelligence. We create that. So they're using a certain kind of software that we didn't sell, and we were never contracted to. And then drugs are part of the equation. We're not exactly sure. We don't know the culture of drugs, referencing the populace for like St. Francis de Sales. There's something going on there, right? We don't know if like not Munchausen, like parents weren't necessarily saying that their kids were sick, but we don't know if by contact people weren't dependent on certain substances, and when they learned that maybe they weren't consenting to an experimental recreational route of ingestion of what they didn't know. I don't know. We don't have enough information about how to discuss that. As far as Mr. Rohan Mahatma and Mr. Kiran Mahal, we don't know if we've ever actually officially met, how we came across this network. We had to navigate and maneuver. They both work in immigration law, and that is really important. We do want the data census bureau collection information for many reasons. But Rohan worked with Fox News in New Jersey and was focusing on heroin addiction and the lifestyle associated with addiction, but didn't really focus on dependence and how dependence has to happen before there can be addiction. So we were never contacted about any of our work or research. And as far as like the University of Pennsylvania and the Center for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, all the various clinics, this is the layman staff that are predominantly Black, brown, yellow that are approached. And that's why we're not for University City Districts. We don't want the white troopers. We don't want the safety. I'm so sorry because there was a safety ambassador that was really polite, and I don't know if he's one of our biological brothers, but we don't have confirmation on if he is or isn't biologically related. He has, he seems to possess some sort of professional skill set, and maybe he just has chosen a job for right now for whatever reasons. But I'm sorry, right? Because we really try not to be opinion based. We really try to go by metrics, and we really try to understand the hospitality associated with values and principles, fundamental values and principles, where people invest their time as far as if they're academics or not, or if they decide that they just want a 9-to-5 job, like this is part of their family culture. But what people don't understand is that like constitutional rights, we're sorry to have to say this, but constitutional rights aren't the same for people, or at least we don't, as far as economics and inflation and depreciation, if people don't contribute to society, they really technically shouldn't have the same kind of opportunities, right? So no one can say, so eliminating the draft, right? The Vietnam War, they eliminated the draft, all that. We don't believe that people should have their lives threatened, but there's something associated with citizenship. We're seeing like lackluster standards for existence. Like people almost believe that they should be afforded some certain kind of privilege for not really working and not really facing reality. They just kind of want to, I don't know how to say that without being too judgmental, without enough fact-based information. And I don't know that that's productive, but you know, if someone's like a welfare graduate, right? They lived intergenerationally, how many generations of the family have been on welfare. You have to understand that, like, even though you may not be on welfare, however many generations of your family before you were on welfare means something, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that, like, you don't work for what you want, but you're, how to say that without being rude. It's just not the same, right? You haven't, like, and then they'll play the card where the slaves built the White House. I don't even know. We've discussed this many times. Like, before modern technology, manual labor was the reality. So don't weaponize that. You know, like we tried to discuss this, that there was slavery everywhere. So don't try to add or amount any extra anything associated with that, because that's how a lot of places were built. And there are people that emigrate or immigrate here that are willing to work for cash only, and they kind of take a pay cut, but they save. They save, they keep their places clean, or they try to keep their places clean despite their neighbors. They live in really tough situations, but they work, they work, they work, they work. And they don't take on any debt. And they work and they work and they work, and they're willing to work so that in 2 or 3 generations, their family can be economically in a different place without debt. So when someone's on welfare and you've had like 2 or 3 generations of your family on welfare, then you're in debt. You haven't, those 2 or 3 generations, and you have to factor in on welfare, did they pay taxes? Like, you owe money. It doesn't matter if you're the first generation on welfare. If you've had 2 or 3 generations on welfare, then you're part of the reason there's debt in this country. So there are many people that live in poverty that don't go on welfare. Unemployment is a little bit different. Yeah, so we've been the first, well, we need to regain access to our bank accounts. And I've said this before, like, I don't know exactly how husband wants to optimize this, but this is just that bad. And what for means. So we are cautious, like, we know we have 90 older brothers through Carolyn, but we can't have this kind of situation happening again. So we've focused on, like, the reality of what we own. If we're able to restore, and if we're able to realistically have a quality of life amongst a larger family system, and set up parameters, regulations, policies, and procedures where people are believe that they're living a quality of life that makes sense for them. They're not shunned. They're not outcasted. Their life still has value and worth and significance, and that this could work to their benefit, and that they could be part of a larger picture that makes sense, right? That makes sense out of not just their biology, but that this could be something that could be really positive. But we still have to ensure that we don't want outsiders in our family, because we have 98 older brothers, and we're already seeing that a lot of them, from even before we were born, unfortunately, have been targets and victimized for the biological matter to whatever degree. So this just seems like this was a really bad situation for Carolyn. Was a child and how she learned and make, no matter how this was, it seems like no matter what. So we hope that despite how bad this is, that our biological siblings can see the strengths and who they are and what they've been able to accomplish. But you know, that's like almost a private topic of, wow, you know, there's still so much that has to be addressed that can't be dismissed or undermined or overlooked. So there's no way around how bad this is. So today we walked over to a property to learn more about a business storefront, and we're not certain what supplies they do or they don't have. We were not able to locate the Office of the University of Sciences to figure out what their property management is for. We have not heard back from locally shared government as far as the City of Archives and the proof to show proof of land ownership. And to get rid of the illegal bills and to stop illegal construction. There's a lot of construction crews out there. We believe that people that work should be paid, but we didn't grant these permits for people to build on our land. Our land is not for sale. There's not plots of land for sale. No one can sell our land. So we are going to have to knock down a lot of these illegal bills, because they're not in accordance with what we wanted to accomplish. So we tried to contact the city, and now we don't know what exactly Kenny's job description was. We don't know how bad. We don't know. And it's the same with Shapiro. We don't know. We don't have enough information about what the goals were and what they learned once in their role. We don't know, but this can't continue this way. So as far as the fugitive agent, we don't know enough about where he's at, but he has suggestions because he's familiar with the formalities. I don't know if he'd be able to speak directly to husband, or if one of our older brothers or dads, if the older brothers want one of the dads to kind of have, he's one of our, I don't know who have the best suggestion for a strategy, but this isn't like top secret classified information as far as that pivot point. That's the right way to say that. This is the reality of not unnecessarily prolonging this. We need to expedite these initiatives so that we can stop the compromise.